parking here, I guess.
So we'll come back here at 20 to 1?
I think that's the time. Maybe if you just hang around.
Yeah, we'll be around here. We're not going anywhere.
Okay, thanks.
We just got to get her on TV, that's all.
Okay.
Morning. Morning.
Bring it to the council.
In front of me there?
Where do I go? Got it?
Up here somewhere. There should be somebody. We're just gonna walk to get the counselor, see if he's around here. I think he's supposed to be here as well. Oh, is he? Okay. We're gonna pass the torch to him, and he's accepting the torch on behalf of the city.
Okay.
Okay. Is this him?
Yep.
Welcome to Regina. Good to see you here.
This is one of my road managers. Bring it to the council.
In front of me there?
Where do I go? Got it?
Up here somewhere. There should be somebody. We're just gonna walk to get the counselor, see if he's around here. I think he's supposed to be here as well. Oh, is he? Okay. We're gonna pass the torch to him, and he's accepting the torch on behalf of the city.
Okay.
Okay. Is this him?
Yep.
Distinguished guests, I'm Greg Bonner from 980 CKRM, and I have the honor of recently meeting George Marcello, who is walking across Canada to give us an idea of the need for organ donations, for organ transplants and tissue donor cards to be signed. He's quite an impressive guy, knowing him for maybe about an hour in person and also having talked to him over the phone. It's my honor to just come and introduce the speakers we have this afternoon, and also George will be talking to you, tell you about his trip, why he's doing it, the importance of it. He is a survivor of a liver transplant, and I think it's amazing that we have these kinds of Canadians that will come across the country and tell their story. Not the first time we've seen someone like this to come through Regina, but certainly I think it's a very important story that he has to tell, and it's a very big issue in our province and other provinces as well. George will be talking to you, And first of all, I'd just like to introduce our Health Minister, John Nielsen, would like to say a few words. After that, George Marcello will come to the podium, tell you a bit about his trek and why he's doing that. And after that, he'll be taking questions from you. So it's my pleasure to MC a little bit for George today. And here's our Honorable Health Minister, John Nielsen.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everybody, and a special welcome to you, George. As Saskatchewan's Minister of Health, it's my pleasure to welcome George Marcello and his Canada 500-day walk to Regina and to Saskatchewan. Congratulations on reaching day 248 of your journey. I understand that in total you'll be spending about 2 weeks in our province. We're all grateful that you are dedicating so much time and energy to educating people across Canada about organ and tissue donation. We in Saskatchewan share your commitment to this important cause, and we will continue to do our part to help build public awareness. In 1998, Saskatchewan had the highest rate of organ donation in Canada at 22 donors per million people. These figures show that we are doing well, but we can't afford to be complacent. With our small population, statistics like these can change rather drastically. Our battle is not over yet, but we will continue to encourage people to put those orange organ and tissue donor stickers on their Saskatchewan health cards and discuss their wishes with their families. Your walk has gone a long way to raise awareness about the shortage of organ and tissue donation in our country. Organ donation is something that many people don't have to think about on a daily basis, but you've made them think and you've made them act. Each person you have educated and convinced to sign an organ donor card may potentially save the lives of 6 other people. If we look at it that way, we can see the tremendous impact that George Marcello has made in people's lives across our country. George, on behalf of Premier of Saskatchewan, Lauren Calvert, and on behalf of the Government of Saskatchewan, I want to commend you for your devotion and dedication to organ and tissue donation in our country. Good luck on the rest of your journey, and thank you on behalf of all of those of us in Saskatchewan who are learning from your work. I know that as you travel throughout the province, you'll find many friendly people who are willing to support your cause. As a memento of this day, I have a letter from our Premier, who was not able to be in Regina today, for you and for your information. I'll just read 1 or 2 lines out of the letter, which I think reflect his perspective, and I think all of the people of Saskatchewan. He says, I warmly welcome you to our province. As you make your way through Saskatchewan, I know that you will be greeted with friendly prairie hospitality, and I hope you will have the opportunity to enjoy the beauty that our landscape has to offer as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Minister, for your comments. One thing I would like to say before George takes the stand here is that he's 45 years old. And looking at George, we go 45. So I think the fact that in 1992 he was told that he only had so much time to live and that a liver transplant in fact saved his life, the faith and goodwill he is spreading across the country, as well as a very serious message, I think is highly commendable. And I would like to introduce to you a co-founder of the Step by Step Organ Transplant Association. Also, it's backed by a partner that we know very well by George's symbol, the Torch of Life, the Canadian Olympic Association, and he is carrying that torch right across Canada and delivering it to dignitaries and other people who have had transplants. So George Marcello, welcome to Regina, and George, come to the podium and take some questions.
Thank you. I want to thank the Honorable Health Minister John Nielsen for attending. It's very important for us to get the attention of people like yourself so that the public knows that you're coming out because this is a serious issue, and that we will continue to try and address this issue in every way that we can. Today is day 248, and today is we're acknowledging today in the memory of Lane Mako, the young 29-year-old native from Melville that recently passed away waiting for a heart. We had the pleasure of meeting his mom and his friends in Melville when we were there a few days ago, and meeting the family and friends is the reason why I continue to stay on the road, to keep continuing to try and address this issue of a shortage that we have in this country. And basically what we're trying to do is trying to promote the importance and the benefits of organ and tissue donations to every Canadian from coast to coast. So how do you do that? Donations to every Canadian from coast to coast. So how do you do that? Well, so far I think we've been pretty successful. I've been in Ontario, I've been in Manitoba, and I'm halfway through Saskatchewan, and I think we've reached over 1 million people so far with all our efforts. We've gone through 136 cities and towns where we've been holding press conferences. We've been able to address the universities, police associations, churches, service clubs, ethnic communities. We've been able to get around, and we've been able to get the word out. And I'm sort of becoming sort of like a mailman also, like, and I'm kind of like a human data bank too, because I'm absorbing a lot of information. And most of the Canadians that I've talked to, and a large majority of them, do have a desire to donate their organs. A lot of people are just confused. They're confused on how to do it. They're not sure of the system that we have, and they don't agree with parts of the system. But they are willing to donate their organs. So it looks like we need to take care of two things here in our country. We really need to get, on a large scale, a massive education and awareness program going from coast to coast, and really promote the importance of organ and tissue donations in a very high-spirited way, because what we're talking about here is people's lives, and we're also talking about the powerful decision one can make and save up to 10 people's lives. I don't think that's quite registered to everyone in this country yet. I think what we really need to do is bring this issue to the forefront. Bring it to the forefront of all our agendas right now, and our government's agendas, and put forth a campaign, a high-spirited campaign, where we will be able to reach each Canadian in a very positive way and let every Canadian know about the benefits. Then we got to take a look at our system, because we're still holding on to a very prehistoric system. I met too many families along the way that had to make the final decision at the hospital, and they were approached during a time of shock, grief-stricken, and they weren't able to answer when somebody approached them about becoming an organ donor. And I talked to a lot of those families, and they were all telling me the same thing. They're living with a lot of regret right now. weren't asked at that moment, because they would have said yes before that, they would have said yes after that. And I've talked to a lot of individuals about what do they think about making our decision legal binding, so we don't have to be that dependent on approaching the family at the worst time possible to make the most important decision. So why are we still in a country that is using that system, where other countries are not using that system, and they're very successful in their rates? And this is something that has to get seriously addressed in our country, because a lot of lives are at stake right now, and we need to bring this to the forefront. We need to have all three levels of government step up to the plate on this, you know, not only to ensure that we can have the best systems for the people that, the 4,000 people that are presently waiting for organs, but for future generations. Let's try and create a system in our country where families aren't desperately waiting. If any one of you know of families that have any loved ones on the waiting list, they'll tell you the same feeling. They're desperately waiting, knowing that the odds are against them because we have a shortage. And you know what? Canada can do better. So what doesn't make sense here is that we have a public that's willing to donate their organs, and yet we're losing a lot of good available organs. So we need to address the system, and we need to do it immediately. You know, we got to let our governments know that there's nothing more important than life right now, and the saving of life, and also to honor somebody's wish. That's just as important, because when I'm talking to people about becoming organ donors, a lot of people are responding, yes, I want to become an organ donor, and that they hold that very precious to their heart. So why are we using a system where we're approaching the family at the worst time possible and having those decisions vetoed? You know, those very precious decisions. We probably have a lot of people that are turning over in their graves right now, knowing that their wish wasn't honored, you know? So we seriously have to have our governments look at these things and address them, because we're talking about people's lives. You know, we're talking about people's lives, and we can do better in this country. Canada was always known to have high standards in all areas. Why do we have a low standard in this area? Right now, we do need our governments to get involved and come to the plate with this and address this issue, you know, and we don't need to invent the wheel. Just look at what other countries are doing in their country and why they're so successful in their countries. So, and I need to talk about this the way I am talking about it, because this is what I was doing to get Premier Harris's attention. And he did respond after in September. And, you know, they created the Premier's Advisory Board on Organ and Tissue Donations. And presently they're taking some pretty positive steps in addressing the issue in the province of Ontario. We hope we left a positive effect with the province of Manitoba. And we're hoping that we're going to leave a positive effect with the province of Saskatchewan. And I know we got scheduled meetings with the provinces of Alberta, British Columbia, and the Maritimes, and Quebec. So we're hoping to bring this issue to all the provinces, all the municipalities, and, you know, and all the people. And, you know, what I always say at the end is that, you know who the winners are going to be? The people on the waiting list. And that's the bottom line. You know, this is why this is all getting done. So we can give those people on the waiting list a fighting chance, we can honor people's wishes, and life could be carried on. And I have such a strong bond to that family that made that unselfish and courageous decision that saved my life and 5 others. One day I would like to meet them if they had that same desire. And presently we can't do that in Canada. So that, along with a shopping list of other things that hopefully I can present to the health minister, the federal health minister one day, hopefully we can address these much needed changes and creation systems in our country. I want to take this moment to acknowledge some people that have really helped us out. We're doing this on a zero budget.
And has been given the opportunity to have his sentence cut by a judge saying he could wear a sign reading, "I stole from the families of the dead." Daniel Pinnell was given the option from a judge pleading guilty to taking around $350 from memorial cards at the Eau Claire funeral home where he worked.
You know, this guy sounds like a lawyer to me, Timmy.
I don't know. Hey, he could be a lawyer, right?
Full of tragedies, and this morning we're hearing about two men who lost their lives on the Trans-Canada, and out of that, you know, there is the possibility of life. Not to sound cold and callous this morning, but that's what we're going to talk about. It's a sensitive issue, but a very important issue. From someone dying, from someone losing their life, they can give life to other people, and that is called donating your organs and tissue. What we're talking about this morning is just that, and then we're talking about a very impressive man who is with me in the studio. You may have heard of him. You may have heard about him on our newscast today and certainly yesterday. George Marcello is with me in studio, and George, welcome to the show. Welcome to Saskatchewan.
Thank you, and good morning, Regina.
Now, a little bit of background about George. He's a 45-year-old who has survived a liver transplant. George, you've been walking across Canada. In fact, you walked across Ontario. You've done a lot of walking. And we're going to talk about your views on the state of organ donation and tissue donation in Canada, why you're doing this. I mean, you've got to have a reason, a lot of spirit for doing this. And certainly we want to hear from some people this morning on their opinion about it, especially if you out there, a friend, a family, a relative who has gone through the process of waiting for a transplant. And we'll talk about that and much more, and simply find out a little bit more about this man who's among the people we see coming through Regina, I think, and walking across Canada for many different causes. George Marcello, to me, seems to be a little bit different. Great dedication, great enthusiasm, and great energy. So I think it's important that we find out why he's doing this, a bit about George, your chance to talk to him one-on-one, simply congratulate him if you care, and to talk about the issues surrounding signing your donor card, either the one that comes with your license, one you can get, having that in your will, carrying one with you, and all of that. And first of all, George, you have to ask the question, why in winter? Why do the walk in winter?
Actually, it's Premier Harris's fault. He changed his schedule on us. We were, I'm not saying that in a bad way, of course. We were scheduled to kick off the walk in March, and you know, we were planning to have the Premier there in March, and just something came up and he couldn't make it in March, so we put it off till June. And by that time we already had the route set up, so if we would have started March, I would have been in BC by now, you know, not going through the school bar, but you know, I'm getting an education about your winter out here in the prairies.
All right, and as well, you're on a 500-day walk across Canada. You won't be walking directly across the country, but you're covering sections of it. We'll talk a little bit about that. And this is day 249, must be, because yesterday was 248. So this morning, a chance for you to meet and talk to George Marcello. Organ donation and tissue donation has become his passion. He is a liver transplant survivor himself. In 1992, you were told you were going to die. It took you, I think, 3 years to get a transplant. There in itself is a story. So this morning at 936-9898 in town, long distance toll free, 1-800-409-3980, out where it counts. So we're going to talk with George Marcello, who co-founded Step by Step, Organ Transplant Association, diagnosed with terminal liver disease in '92, received a liver transplant operation in 1995, and we want to hear from you this morning as well. And if you don't like the idea of organ transplants or organ donations, or you have some misconceptions about it, I'm sure George will set you straight, and we'll talk about the impact on families and why this has become a national issue, not just a provincial one. Greg Bonnet with you here on Newsline at 980 CKRM. Back with George Marcello right after this quick break. We're talking about George Marcello and his odyssey across Canada to boost awareness of organ transplants, organ donations, and tissue donations. And the question, a couple of questions for you this morning. Does Canada need a